Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome in. In this one, I really wanted to pose the question, who is your number one wide receiver in this upcoming draft class? I feel like this is one of those classes where the opinions are all over the map. The talent is really close together in this class. We don't have that, number one pick locked in. Like, we all knew Trevor Lawrence was going one last year. We all knew Myles Garrett was going to be the first overall pick. We don't really have that, right? We're seeing mock drafts with Evan Neal, Kayvon Thibodeau, Aiden Hutchinson, Ike Ekwonu. Okay, so the opinions, the preferences are all over the place, and I think it's awesome because it opens the door for discussions, debates, and everything like that. People have their own personalized opinions on these players from the information that they've gathered. Okay, so I think it's totally cool. But when I look at wide receiver, I feel like it's the most radical out of all of these positions coming out. I feel like you never have the same wide receiver big board, if you will. You talk to one person, it's completely different from the next guy. Okay, so I'm really interested to see where you guys stand on this. Now, we all know the problems that the New York Jets have currently at receiver. Okay, we had 5 guys that consistently produced last year. 3 out of those 5 are set to hit the open market, and Braxton Berrios, Keelan Cole, and Jamison Crowder. The other 2 consist of Corey Davis, who came off a season-ending injury, and even before that injury, he had some disappointing moments with drops and whatnot. And then, of course, Elijah Moore, second-round pick from last year's class. Totally impressed with him, especially, late in the season. Man, he really put together a solid back half of the year. So right now, even though I like Corey Davis and I love Elijah Moore, we need some more help. We do. The offensive ranks last season were putrid. Zach Wilson going into year 2, we got to get him some help. That's just the bottom line. I think it'll also alleviate some of the pressure off of the running game, which is always a plus. And by the way, there actually has been a report from Joe Douglas saying that he's going to put an emphasis on surrounding Zach with some talent. This team failed to do that with Sam Darnold. They failed to do that with Geno Smith. We cannot continue this pattern, continue this trend of drafting a young, talented quarterback and not giving him a solid support system. Okay, so it's imperative that we add some talented bodies at the wide receiver position. Now, when we take a look at some of these wide receiver prospects, there's tons of them. Okay, rounds 1, rounds 2, rounds 3, we could quickly go down the list. I would say right now Drake London from USC is the offseason's biggest riser, but Treylon Burks, Jameson Williams, Garrett Wilson, David Bell from Purdue, Christian Watson, North Dakota State, Chris Olave, Pickens from Georgia. There's a lot of really talented wide receivers in this class. Of course, we didn't name them all, but I think for me, 2 stand out for the Jets when I'm looking at pick number 10, and then of course at the end, I do have a bonus, another guy that I really like, but I don't really see his name popping up within the top 10, top 12, top 13. So that would be more so a trade back situation, a trade back scenario where JD recoups some picks and we move back to, let's just say, 15 and beyond, 15 through 32. So with that being said, let's not waste any time. Let's jump right in. So the first receiver that I feel like would just be a great fit for the New York Jets, I seriously can't take my eyes off him, Garrett Wilson from Ohio State. At 6'1", 190, Garrett Wilson is an absolute playmaker. His burst, his acceleration, the yards after the catch, he moves really well in short spaces. He's so much fun to watch. And what's crazy is he's not the biggest guy around. Like, you watch these Ohio State games, and he's not some physically imposing guy. He's not Alshon Jeffrey. He's not Brandon Marshall at all. But for whatever reason, he does win 50-50 balls on the outside. His vertical jump is crazy. He almost reminds me of one of those shorter point guards that just explode towards the basket and slam it home with so much aggression, so much violence. It really seems like Wilson has like rockets underneath his shoes. His vert is insane. It is crazy. And he has solid hands as well. That's another thing that I feel like Wilson brings to the table. Strong hands. There's moments where he'll catch a pass, but the momentum will keep him moving in one way, and his one hand will come off the ball, and he's still holding it out here. His hands are just so strong. It just seems like he'll crush whatever he grips. Now, maybe it's maybe it's all for show. Maybe it's a nonchalant type of thing where Wilson's like, kind of, look what I can do on this play. Nobody's around me. But his hands are extremely strong. He's had experience on the outside, on the inside. Although he does project more to the NFL as a inside slot wide receiver, I still feel like he could do damage on the outside. And with Braxton Berrios hitting the open market, and there's some uncertainty with him being back. And I mean, man, same with Jamison Crowder. I think there is a role for Garrett Wilson on this offense. But man, the route running, the separation, the acceleration with the football in his hands. You look at his production this past season in 11 games, he had 70 catches, over 1,000 receiving yards with 12 touchdowns. And by the way, his numbers went up every single year. Yards, catches, touchdowns, freshman year, sophomore year, up to his junior year, all three categories went up. You don't have a Derek Stingley type of situation where it was like, oh, awesome 2019, but he was hurt, he was missing time, the numbers aren't really there, the production isn't there in the sophomore and junior seasons. It's not a situation like that. Wilson continues to get better, continues to be a force in the Ohio State offense, and continue to get the ball thrown his way in a very, very crowded wide receiver room. Now, the second receiver that I feel like would be a beautiful fit for the New York Jets here, Treylon Burks from Arkansas. 6'3", 225. He was the best weapon that Arkansas had to offer last season. I mean, he was the go-to guy. When the Razorbacks were throwing the football, it was probably going in Burks' direction, and defenses could still not slow him down. A smart player, knows where to find the soft spots in defenses. Again, great size, great speed for his size, really, really solid hands, a playmaker, makes noise with the football, right? Yards after the catch. He's a problem, but at the same time, he's also a possession wide receiver. He's not one of these Tavon Austin style of players where it's just screen or bust, right? You just got to get him the football and watch him work. No, he can make plays doing that, or as a receiver down the field, right? Play action, on the boundary, one-on-one. He has the size to do it. In 12 games this season, he had 66 catches, over 1,100 receiving yards with 11 touchdowns. One aspect of Burks' game that I feel like gets overlooked a little bit, and also that I feel like will translate really, really well to the New York Jets locker room, is the blocking ability. I mean, his size on the outside as a blocker, that's something that the Jets don't have. In fact, I was actually on a call with a bunch of Jets fans the other night, maybe like 3-4 nights ago, and one of the concerns was the fact that all of the Jets wide receivers outside of Denzel Mims and Corey Davis are short. And of course, we're taking into consideration pending free agents here, but Keelan Cole, Elijah Moore, Jeff Smith, Jamison Crowder, Braxton Berrios, we don't have, I mean, they have good size pound for pound, but when it comes to physically dominating the defender, physically enforcing your will to get that defender out of the way, we just don't really have it. We don't have the overall power, the overall strength, the size at the wide receiver position, specifically as an outside blocker. Okay, so that's something that I feel like Burks would come in and do a great job at. Of course, it's up to the coaches to further develop that skill, but that is something right now that Burks has over Garrett Wilson. The size. Yes, Garrett Wilson can, leap out of the gym. Yes, he wins at 50-50 balls. Yes, he does have the really strong hands, but Garrett Wilson cannot grow 6 inches. He cannot, by the time he's arriving in Florham Park, become 6'6". He can't add 30 pounds and still be the same wide receiver that he is today. It's just not in the cards. So you look at, you just compare the two sizes. Garrett Wilson's 6 foot, just underneath 200 pounds. Treylon Burks is 6'3", 225. Okay, so pick your poison. I think it's, I think it's so tough. I think if I had to make a decision right now, clock is winding down, we're on the clock, 10 seconds left. It's tough. I think I would honestly go with Garrett Wilson, though. Now, it's no disrespect to guys like London and Burks and everything like that, but I think right now I'm just picturing Garrett Wilson in this style of offense with Elijah Moore and Corey Davis on the outside, and I'm assuming Joe Douglas would bring in a big body on the outside, maybe more of a possession wide receiver, a guy that could possibly stretch the field consistently. But just thinking about Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson running mesh routes, right, running underneath slants and everything like that just gets me pumped up. I mean, who do you cover? Who do you cover if you're a defensive coordinator? You got to make Zach Wilson's life as easy as possible going into next season. We have a lot of holes. Wide receiver is one of them. We can fix it here. Okay, now when we take a look at a possible trade back situation, a trade back scenario in which the Jets would acquire some future draft picks or something along those lines, maybe extra draft picks in this year's class, I think the wide receiver that should be in play is Chris Olave. I mean, 6'1", 190, great route running, great separation. I would say those are his top 2 traits as a wide receiver, and he does them extremely, extremely well. He has vertical speed. I think that's an element that the Jets don't really have on this offense right now. Again, we talked about the free agents, but let's just assume all those guys are brought back. All those guys are on the roster. We still don't have a consistent deep threat. Chris Olave can line up on the outside and put defenses on their heels. He could take the safeties. He could take the top off of defense, right? The safeties all of a sudden have to take into account Zach Wilson can now throw the football deep down the field on a consistent basis. It's not just on a broken play. It's not just one time a game. No, at any given point, Chris Olave could beat you over the top. Okay, match that with his route running. I think it's a scary thing. I really, really do. Again, I know nobody's really talking about Olave going top 10. I get it, especially if we're looking at yards after the catch or something like that. I doubt Olave will ever be that lightning rod at wide receiver. Like, think of like a Odell Beckham back with the New York Giants, where you could just throw him in a slant and he could take it 85 yards. He's outrunning every single player on the field. He's putting moves on defenders on a week to week basis, and he cannot be stopped. I don't think Olave brings that to the table, but he could get open, and I think that's an extremely, extremely valuable trait at the wide receiver position. And by the way, he's a senior. He's seen a lot of football. He has 38 career games under his belt at Ohio State. He didn't have to go back to school last year. He did not. He was considered a second-round pick a year ago, arguably a first. He goes back to school, stacks another productive season on his already productive college career. Okay, so I like all three. Frankly, I like all these guys. So I think the Jets should definitely look at acquiring one or two of these guys here. Okay, now of course we don't know what's happening with free agency. We don't know what's happening with a potential trade, maybe a Calvin Ridley, something along those lines. But as we stand right now, late February, this is kind of where I stand with wide receiver. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. I cannot wait to see where you guys stand on this, who your favorite wide receiver is. It should be a fun discussion, and yeah, it should be awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and as always, go Jets.